shine like stars. On a Saturday morning, the sun peeked through the curtains of the little blue house. Silas and Alora sat at the kitchen table, looking at a long list of chores. There were boots to scrub, laundry to fold, and a yard to tidy. Usually, this was the part of the day where the grumbling started, and the clouds seemed to move inside the house. Silas looked at his muddy hiking boots. "They're so dirty," he whispered, feeling a frown tugging at the corners of his mouth. He thought about complaining that it wasn't fair, or saying that the mud was too sticky. The air felt heavy, like a storm was coming, even though the sun was still shining outside. Elora walked over and placed a hand on his shoulder. "Remember what we learned?" she asked softly. "Do everything with a cheerful heart, not grumbling as you do your part." She smiled, and it was like a tiny candle had been lit in the room. "When we choose a peaceful way, Silas, God's love shines through us." Silas took a deep breath. He picked up the scrub brush and started to whistle a happy tune. He didn't focus on the mud. He focused on the sparkle underneath. As he worked without a single complaint, the boots began to gleam. He felt light and tall, as if he were growing closer to the sky with every stroke of the brush. Next, it was Alora's turn. She stood before a mountain of clean laundry that needed to be folded. It looked like a giant, colorful hill that would take all day to climb. For a moment, she wanted to sigh and walk away, but she remembered that even small tasks are part of a bigger race. "I'll help you," Silas cried, running into the room. Together, they turned the chore into a game. They folded the towels into neat squares and matched the socks like they were finding lost friends. Because they chose to work with joy, the mountain of laundry seemed to shrink until it was gone, and neither of them felt tired at all. Later, they went out into the garden. The wind had blown branches all across the lawn of their neighbor, Mrs. Higgins. The neighborhood felt a bit gray that day, with long shadows stretching across the street. Silas and Alora knew that this was their chance to be children bright in a world that sometimes feels crooked and dark. Mrs. Higgins came to her porch and watched them work. She had been feeling lonely and sad, but seeing the children's kindness made her heart feel warm. Alora walked over and handed her a bright yellow dandelion she had found near the fence. "We wanted to help," Alora said with a twinkle in her eye. As the sun began to set, Silas and Alora sat on their own front porch. Their hands were a little dirty and their legs were tired, but their hearts were full of a special kind of peace. They had held onto the steady hand all day, choosing goodness even when chores were hard or the day felt long. The stars began to pop out in the dark velvet sky, one by one. Silas looked up and realized that they had been like those stars all day long. By choosing joy and kindness, they had become a light for everyone to see. "We did it," Silas whispered. "We ran our race with joy," Alora replied, holding a glowing lantern as they headed inside.